Hello and welcome to the November 28th, 2016 Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities meeting. My name is Mike Masker. I'm the chair of the commission. I'd like to welcome all you folks that are watching this on the televised broadcast. Just as a reminder, we do rebroadcast these meetings on Cox Channel 18 every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're also on CenturyLink. Does anybody remember what the number is for CenturyLink? I apologize. I should remember that, but I don't. I think it's in the 60s. We'll just call it good. There you go. You can also find more information about our Disabilities Commission on the Mayor's website. The best way to do it is if you just do a Google search for Disabilities Commission Omaha, and that'll take you right to our page. It has all of our contact information, has our email addresses, and I believe phone numbers are included if you need to get in touch with one of the commissioners. We certainly welcome that. So we meet the fourth Monday of each month. We do have a pre-meeting. We had a pre-session today. We did have a quorum. Janae motioned to approve the minutes from September, and Wendy seconded. Some of the new business that we discussed, we've got a number of new members that are interested in joining the commission, and we're pretty excited about the opportunity to have them come on board to represent persons that are blind or visually impaired, persons with who deal with mental health issues, as well as deaf and hard of hearing. So we've got a number of areas of disability that we could use additional coverage and representation, and we're excited to potentially have some new folks joining us. Want to just give our members an opportunity to introduce themselves, and we will start with John on my far right.
Thank you, Mike. My name is John Glenn, the Vice President of Development for Rehabilitation's Omaha campus. It's nice to be here among a great group of people.
Hi, I'm Ed Armstrong. I represent persons with physical disabilities with the QLI, which is the post-hospital rehabilitation centre.
Hi, I'm Wendy Hamilton. I represent adults with autism spectrum disorders. I'm the adult child of a parent with autism.
My name is Mark Smith. I serve on the faculty at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, specifically at the Monroe Meyer Institute. We are the University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities for the state of Nebraska, where we primarily provide training to future professionals. I'm also the sibling of a younger sister and the parent of the young, very great guy, young man with developmental disabilities.
And just, you guys might want to make sure you click your mic on, so I'm not sure if that was, it's actually on the little screen there. There you go. So Janae is an attorney with Lamson, Dugan, and Murray. She's been on the commission for, how long have you been here, Janae? About 8 months. Time flies. But a great addition to our commission, and she represents persons with speech impairments as well as mobility impairments. So great addition to our team. So just a quick reminder as to what our commission is here to do. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, welcome to Annie, our sign language interpreter. We really appreciate all the work that Annie does, and another great member of our team. So thanks, Annie. So the commission, Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities, we're here to promote quality of life, accessibility, and equity in all aspects related to the City of Omaha, on behalf of and in cooperation with the citizens of Omaha who experience disabilities. Some of the things that we are here to do and that we've done is advise the mayor, the city council, city department heads, and other City of Omaha personnel on issues of access, representation, employment, housing, and quality of life affecting city citizens with disabilities and their respective families. We're also here to serve as advocates for accessibility issues and implement plans and projects to improve services for citizens with disabilities. Some of the things that we've done, maybe in a little bit more of an active role, we talked about this in our September meeting where some developers had invited us to join them for a meeting just to help advise on issues of accessibilities with some new projects around town. We're also here to publicly recognize the efforts of employers, businesses, schools, organizations, and others who have demonstrated outstanding support of programs and services for citizens with disabilities. So just a few things that we do, and certainly we appreciate the feedback and the input from citizens in the area that have a disability, either on ways that we can help support any of those areas that I mentioned, or bring to our attention things that just aren't well known in the community, whether they're services like some of the speakers that we've brought in. So your feedback is certainly helpful and important. So want to just do a quick shout out to Wendy Hamilton, thanking her for handling the duties last month when I was called to another meeting. So thanks, Wendy, for being the second in charge. So I put her into work last month. So just also a reminder, you may want to have something handy to write with, or make sure to set your DVRs. We'll have some announcements toward the end of the meeting with just some information that could be helpful for you with either events or information on our particular organizations that might be helpful. Again, I'm Mike Masker. My paying job is with CHI Health Immanuel Rehabilitation Institute, where I manage the therapy departments. I represent persons that have physical disabilities. So, as is our tradition, we like to bring information on services that are available in the community that serve persons with disabilities. So we're really excited to have Jane Nielsen and Becca Jurdy. Is that right? Did I say it right? All right. Jane is the executive director, and Becca is the assistant director for Radio Talking Book Network. So I'd like to invite you guys to the podium now. We're excited to have you here just to learn a little bit more about Radio Talking Book and hear what you guys have to share today. Welcome, Becca.
Awesome, thank you. Do I need to turn a mic on?
No, it's on.
Awesome.
Ronnie's got it.
Again, I want to thank the Commission for inviting me to tell the story of Radio Talking Book Service. My name is Becca Jurdy. I'm the Assistant Director with Radio Talking Book Service. I was a volunteer for the organization for about 2 years prior to being hired on, and I've been there for about 19 months at this point. Radio Talking Book Service is Nebraska's audio companion. We provide human-voiced print information for anyone with visual or physical disabilities that prevent them from reading the printed word. We do this through 2 programs, our Radio Talking Book Network, which is a radio reading service, and the Listening Link program, which is an educational reading service. I'm going to start talking about Radio Talking Book Network. Dr. Craig Fullerton founded Radio Talking Book Network in 1974. He was a superintendent in the OPS system and was one of the individuals who was bringing public radio to Omaha. As he was endeavoring to do that, he discovered a radio reading service in Minnesota and realized how beneficial and crucial a service like this would be to blind and visually impaired individuals in Nebraska. So we founded Radio Talking Book Network in 1974. We are in our 42nd year of providing equal access to print information for those unable to access it. We are physically located at 72nd and Sorensen in the Immanuel complex. We house in our offices, excuse me, 5 recording pods or small recording studios. We have a live on-air studio as well as a control room. We also have offices, a little refrigerator, fancy stuff. And yes, in the microwave, right? How we work, we're a radio station that instead of broadcasting music, we broadcast print information for our listeners. The way we do that is we have a cadre of just around 100 volunteers that dedicate their time to provide the information for our radio programming. I want to talk about our volunteers briefly just for a moment because they are amazing. We recently had a woman retire from her daily live reading of the newspaper after 35 years. One of our volunteers has been reading for us for 36 years, and we have a lot of them that are in the 15, 20, 25 range. The level of dedication and their support of those that need this service and enjoy this service is just mind-boggling to me. Our volunteer coordinator is who keeps all of those things in motion. We have a fair amount of scheduling to do. We do live readings in the newspaper, and I'll get into that just a little bit later. But she keeps those schedules up to date. She trains and maintains training for all of our volunteers. She's also just a shining example of what this organization can be. She's been with us for 22 years. She worked for us for about 12 years in the beginning, left and had about 3 more careers, and then came back and has been with us for the last 10 years.
So with some of these folks that have been with you for a long time, talk about how they got involved. Do you know some of their stories and how they got interested in joining you as a volunteer?
Not so much with the folks that have been there a while. I'm not as familiar with their stories. We do seem to be the place that retired teachers like to come when they're done. I know that now a lot of what we do with volunteer outreach is the local volunteer fairs around town. We were recently at Creighton's Volunteer Fair. We put the call out in our newsletter and in annual appeals. We've been blessed enough this year to have had, I think, 3 television appearances. And I do have to say that every time that's happened, we've had a great uptick in the amount of people that come in to volunteer. One of our volunteers is 91. She lives in Immanuel Communities, just across the street. And so every Tuesday, we're included in her 2-mile-a-day walk, and she reads the Wall Street Journal for us. So we also have a young man who's about 12. So we have a bit of a range. Most of our volunteers are retirees, but we do have some teens that read for us, some other folks that come in and they find time in their schedule to provide the programming for our listeners. And the way they do that is we have approximately 75 different periodicals. The volunteer comes in. By and large, they have autonomy as far as picking what they get to read. We keep those subscriptions current because we do want to provide as current as well as local information as we can for our listeners. So they pick what they want to read. They hop into one of those recording pods, and usually the reading's about a half an hour. We do have some segments that are 15 minutes and a couple of others that are an hour, but a half an hour is about the average read that a volunteer would do. We also have some volunteers that specifically read regional newspapers for us. We read 8 regional newspapers at this moment. They include the Scottsbluff Star-Herald, the Council Bluffs Daily Nonpareil, North Platte, the Grand Island Independent, the Columbus newspaper, as well as West Point. And again, some of those readers have been reading those newspapers specifically for probably upwards of 20 years. And they really go to great lengths with the newspapers, as most of those are a daily newspaper, but they're smaller. They'll spend hour and a half, 2 hours of prep time consolidating a week's worth of papers into a 45-minute read. So that way they're really able to call out the very local specific parts of those papers. They don't have to go over the national news that the paper may be. They spend a lot of time in the obits, upcoming community events, county commissioners meetings. Anything that a sighted person would have access to on an everyday basis is what they're trying to bring the readers when they do the regional newspapers. We also have, again, committed readers 7 days a week to do a live reading of the Omaha World Herald and the Lincoln Journal-Star. It's a 2-hour reading. We have 2 readers every day that do that, and they alternate. One will start with the Herald and read an article, and then signal when they're done, and the other person reads from the Lincoln Journal-Star. They have a rough schedule that they follow. And again, at that point, they'll be hitting some national news, a lot of local news, the death notices, then they go into local business. We, excuse me, we record the grocery store ads as well as the department store ads every week. Those air 4 times a week. That way, again, we're able to keep our listeners informed to what a lot of us have the great, I don't know, luck that we're able to just pick up the paper and find out what we can get on sale at Walgreens. Gosh, I think there's over 15 or 20 different stores that are usually represented between the two of those. So we're really trying our best to give them a wide variety of where they can shop and what's going on. One of the other things that we have started to do is a Veterans Hour on the weekends that airs on Saturdays. We also are bringing community conversations to our listeners. This is an interview program that airs on Friday. We usually do half-an-hour interviews. In October, for example, we did all things election. We brought in lots and lots of the candidates to let them tell their story. We brought in election commissioners from Sarpy and Douglas County. They actually brought an AutoMark machine in with them. While our listeners couldn't see it, there is a lot of it that was audible, of course. And so they were able to go over step by step what our visually impaired and blind individuals would encounter when they went to the polling booth this year. We brought in AARP, again, to talk about accessibility at the booths, and then League of Women Voters to talk about what they do. We also recorded the League of Women Voters voting guide. It was a 3-hour piece. And one week we ran it exclusively in the evenings to catch those listeners. The next week during the day, and then the weekend before the election, we ran it on Saturday and Sunday, just to make sure that there was lots of information out there for our listeners. Other programming perks that we have, we do entertain as well as inform. We do a bookshelf 5 days a week. We have 2 or 3 readers that just read novels and short stories for us. So they do fill in an hour of afternoon programming Monday through Friday with a novel that you can listen to in a serial form. On Saturday evenings and Sunday afternoons, we air an audio-described movie for our listeners. It's probably one of our most popular shows. We also provide, on Sundays, a non-denominational program. A lot of great music and just kind of an uplifting message. So by and large, we run as much of a gamut as we can. Just for example, some of our programming slots that we fill in are for information, consumer information. We do a health and medicine segment, sports. We have a good old days. That was always my favorite to read when I was a volunteer. It's all about the Wild West. We also we bring in a few of our programs from other radio reading services in the nation. That was one of the things. We were one of the first 6. There are now over 150 in the nation. We are still the only one in Nebraska. And what a lot of the radio reading services do is they share their programming so that anytime you need a little bit filled here and there, we're able to help each other and, again, collaborate and bring the best possible programming to our listeners. The way that we are able to do that, our station manager, Paul Stebbins, has been with us almost a decade. He's been blind since birth. His mother knew that he'd need to have a skill, and so she had a radio station, and since he was like 12 years old, he's worked in radio stations. He even worked on Wheel of Fortune for a while as one of their sound engineers. So he's had a wonderful career as a station manager. So he produces all of our programming in-house. Our volunteers record it in the booths. It gets sent to him. Now it's all digital. For almost 40 years, it was all done on cassette tapes, so that was quite arduous. But it's all digital now, and we have a program called Wire Ready. It's an automation system. And essentially, other than our live reading, he just plugs in program after program every day of the week based on what our readers have done and what we are perhaps relying on from other services. We do not provide our own overnight programming. We have a really fun thing called Antioch Radio. It's nostalgia radio that runs from about 11 p.m. till about 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's for all the night owls that are up that late. And then that way they just get pure entertainment at that point. Excuse me. One of the ways we are broadcast is over SCA FM frequencies. It's a fancy way to say it's closed circuit programming. You cannot tune in to Radio Talking Book Network in your car, not on a regular radio dial. KIOS FM and NET statewide have been kind enough to donate all of our FM frequencies. So we're able to cover Nebraska statewide, wherever NET, and in the Omaha metro area, KIOS. And I won't
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, how many, you might be getting to this, how many subscribers do you have?
3,100 is about where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. There are, I think 33,500 blind or visually impaired people in Nebraska, individuals, and so we'd really like to get closer to that number. We started streaming on the internet within the last year. We've been able to bring some new products to our listeners because of that, and since June, we've increased our listenership by over 2,000 people. Yeah, the internet, a lot of folks are still going to need the FM radios that we send them, but I think in 10 years, a lot of this is all going to be accessed via the internet. That is another part of our mission. Because we are closed circuit, you have to have a special radio to get us, and we provide that at no charge to our listeners. I've brought a couple of them in. I don't know if the mic will pick me up way over here. So this one is our traditional SCA FM receiver. It's very, very, very accessible. All you need to do is plug it in when you receive it, pull your antenna up, and turn it on. The only thing you can get on here is Radio Talking Book Network. We try to make this as accessible as we can, as most of our audience is visually or physically impaired. SCA FM serves us statewide. It can be tough in rural areas or in buildings near power lines, etc. This frequency is really susceptible to interference. So we do the best we can and try to place the best receivers for the individuals. It's another reason with the advent of an internet stream, it's really going to change the face of things. This is one of our internet radios. Again, it is tuned to us. It does require a little more eyes on. And so right now, we are recommending these for folks that have a sighted person in their household. We are also finding this to just be perfect fit for care facilities. One of the reasons we were able to increase our number so dramatically since June is because we've made a concerted effort to reach out to senior centers, assisted living facilities, nursing homes. The great majority of the folks that live in those facilities do benefit from our service. As long as the facility, and more of them now, do have wireless, this works like a charm. It can go into individual rooms. A lot of the facilities are using them in their community rooms, and they're integrating them into their programming schedules. The activities directors in particular are very excited about this. We also have, again, this can be used, it's very small, as an individual receiver with speakers. But this little guy is called a Barracks Box, and if the facility is set up for it, because every single one is different, we ask a ton of questions with their IT folks, or if we're able to, we pop in and actually look at their system. If it's set up for it, this box alone will provide our service to an entire facility. It works through internal TV channels, is the short version of how it all goes down. But yeah, and this has just been amazing to be able to provide everyone with the service with this little guy that's about the size of a deck of playing cards is phenomenal. This does use our internet stream, so again, you just get the best possible reception that you could. So that covers the how everyone gets it. Trying to think if I missed anything on. So how do you get a receiver from us? There are several ways you can. You can call us at 402-572-3003. We can mail you an application. We can help you fill one out over the phone, either way. If you have the access, you can also hop online and go to rtbs.org. You can either print off applications and mail them in, or you can submit the application right there online. We do partner with healthcare professionals. There are several in the Omaha Metro, at the very least, that do recommend us to a lot of their patients. We work with Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. All of their counselors tell their new clients about us, a service. We get a lot of referrals from the NCBVI. We also partner with Lions Clubs across the state. We have a shared mission to assist those with visual impairments, and they are a boon, especially in the smaller communities, because they know who would need our service. And again, it's something that we're really trying in earnest this last year and in the upcoming years to reconnect with a lot of those organizations to spread the word and get the word out. So that would be how to apply. And I think that about covers it for Radio Talking Book Network.
Wait, I have a
Yes.
question. How are your listeners made aware of any emergency broadcasts, like a weather-related, or is that somehow regulated so that your programming would be interrupted?
The way I understand it, our programming is interrupted.
Okay.
Because should we ever experience dead air, it is filled in by whatever parent station has us. For instance, in Omaha, we broadcast on 91.5. Anytime we're not, which does not happen very often, but then KIOS kicks in. And so it's my understanding that with emergencies, a similar situation happens, and that would be statewide as well.
A question for you. How much reading do you do with web material, since more and more material is going on the internet? Is that something you're looking at providing? And if so, how excited are you about that?
We already access the Lincoln Journal-Star via their e-edition. We don't get the paper copy anymore. The same with a couple of the Grand Island Independent. I believe we're just now shifting to just using their e-editions. As far as additional, say, periodicals that would be available, I am still new enough that I'm not sure how they came up with the magazines that we currently use. I would imagine they probably spent a lot of time figuring it out. But should we find something that would pop up that, say, is only available as an e-magazine, we would absolutely be willing to incorporate it into the programming.
And a follow-up question. I think it's fascinating that you had yourself, you were a volunteer, became a staffer, and you told a story earlier of a staffer who's now a volunteer. What does that say about your organization?
That we're passionate about what we're doing. It's one of the reasons that I stayed as long as I did as a volunteer is because I knew that I was helping others. I knew that I was providing a service that was helping others lead a more full and engaged life. I think part of it is Sybil, our volunteer coordinator. She's just sweet as pie. I think she's the one that keeps everyone there that long. But it's fun. It's engaging as well for the reader. When I get into the listening link description a little bit, I can touch on that again, but these folks are avid readers, they are avid learners, and they want to keep those around them engaged as they are in their everyday life.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think that wraps it for Radio Talking Book Network, unless my boss thinks of anything I missed. Yes, going back to that, every single one of these receivers that I showed you is offered at no cost to the folks that we serve. Yep. Doesn't even matter if it looks fancy.
In perpetuity, or do they have to reapply every year? Or?
Nope, in perpetuity, especially with the facilities now, they'll just be able to hold on to those. The only thing we require is that we know where it's at. We take individual applications specifically for that so that we know where they are located.
What's the process of accessing the service via the internet? How would a person do that?
Absolutely. So the quickest way is to go to rtbs.org and click on Listen Now. Right now, our stream is open to anyone. I've been consulting a lot with other radio reading services in the nation, and by and large, most everyone is leaving their stream open. The other way you can access us is on TuneIn Radio on your smartphone apps. It's a free app. You search for Radio Talking Book Service. It'll pop right up. There is also an app that was known as iBlink, and I believe its new name is Sero now, S-E-R-O. We are on the Sero app as well. So you can listen to us on your smartphone, you can listen to us on your tablet, on your home computer, anywhere that you are able to receive internet.
It's a wonderful service, so it begs the question, how are you funded? Where are the funds coming for these devices, for the internet app, and for the service you provide?
They are coming from individual contributions, foundation grants, corporate grants, and some underwriting. Yeah, we're not funded at all by federal or state monies. We are not a United Way agency. We rely heavily on individual and foundation monies to do what we do. That's why you see all the stickers on the receivers. We do have a lot of wonderful donors that specifically want to spend money on that, and so that's how we give them their shout out and their thanks. Awesome. Well, on to Listening Link. Listening Link was started in 1992. Listening Link provides recorded textbooks and course material for blind, visually impaired, or learning disabled students. Currently, we serve the student populations at Wayne State University and Creighton University. We are more than happy to expand. Again, we're going to try to do a lot of forward motion in the next couple of years. What we are able to do is we have, excuse me again, this is all done by volunteers. I actually kind of have a separate pool that a lot of my Listening Link volunteers come from. You get a lot more working age professionals there that still want to help but aren't able to pop up weekly or monthly. But perhaps one of our readers was on the road all the time. So that was the one thing he'd do at night when he went in, checked into his hotel, is then he'd read a textbook for an hour or two. So the way it works is the university, our contact, sends me the books with syllabus. They're always current books that are going to be used that semester. Unfortunately, she doesn't know enough ahead of time so that we can get too big of a jump on it. But she accelerates the syllabus on her end a little bit so that the book is finished well before the semester is over. And then I assign it to readers, and they read such an amazing spread of things. I personally have read about welding and commercial construction. Last semester we had constitutional and business law. Constitutional law took 76 hours for our volunteer to get through it.
Wow.
Yeah. Business law, I think, came in a close second at like 64 hours. Yeah. These folks are amazing. We just send them home with a little digital recorder. We use Dropbox by and large to transmit the files from my volunteers to myself, and then myself to the university or the learning institution. Excuse me. Again, like I said, it's something that we're looking to expand. We've chatted with the learning community here in Omaha about potentially getting involved in their adult education classes, in helping them assist with English second language. Because hearing and reading at the same time, it greatly increases your comprehension, and it's a fun program. It happens in a burst. You get some pretty intense reading for about 6 to 8 weeks, but then you're free till the next semester rolls around. Yeah, I think the Listening Link's pretty simple. It doesn't have nearly as much stuff that goes into it. Just some percentages and facts for you. The National Federation of the Blind does report that 26.7% of students with visual impairments will not receive high school diplomas. And the NFB reports among the working age blind adults that 70% remain unemployed. And for those seeking higher education, only 11.9% achieve a bachelor's degree. So we're really excited to expand this service and as well as continue to help the students we do.
I apologize if you said this and I missed it. Is Listening Link working with any K through 12 schools right now? Or is
Not
it?
right now.
Okay.
It's something we're interested in.
You had talked about Listening Link. What's the history behind that? When was that particular program started? Was it the same time as Radio Talking Book, or did it come later? And if so, whose impetus was that?
It came later. It came in '92. From what I understand, it was formed initially with help from the Junior League. Early on, and some of the history I'm still trying to put together, we provided service to about 13 different universities in the area, ranging from Metro to Southeast Community College, some Iowa West, as well as Creighton and Wayne State have continued to stay with us. I haven't had a chance to nail down exactly when the rest of them all splintered off, but we are finding a little bit. We've been making some tentative tries to see if people would respond to it, and it sounds like some of the folks are now doing it in-house. There is a fee for service associated with Listening Link.
Per institution or per?
Per hour read. Yes, right now it's at $12 an hour. That's another thing that is up for discussion and negotiation on down the road as we go.
And is Listening Link unique to Nebraska? Do you know?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, unique to Nebraska.
Like, is it the only program of its
sure.
kind?
I don't hear a lot of it from the other radio reading services. I don't see that they do that as much. We only do textbooks that are not found any other way. Audible does a lot, the Library of Congress, the Braille Library Service. Our contacts at the universities always check those sources first. So it isn't, we're not reading every textbook that comes across. We're only going to read the ones that aren't already available another way.
With the issues around persons that are blind or visually impaired and the struggles around receiving a high school diploma, is part of that because some of those text materials aren't available in other sources, or is it just because of the challenges around being blind or visually impaired and the high school curriculum? What do you think is the...
I can't speak as much to high school. We recently had some interaction with a family member whose niece was leaving the university she was attending because they wouldn't give her any help. They weren't offering things like books in audio. There is a struggle because if you are fortunate enough to have a family member that can spend the time every day with you to go through your material and read it to you, that's awesome. A lot of folks aren't blessed with that time or that family member perhaps. The other added challenge comes from then you're working around somebody else's schedule with that as well. With the recorded texts or course material, you can access that, again, especially now with internet, you can access it anywhere, anytime. If you have a laptop or you have a personal computer in your dorm room, and you need to, well, if you were like me and you waited until the last minute to read everything, cram it in, 4 hours before you run into class, this gives them that flexibility. As far as accessibility, like in actual schools and on campuses, we don't deal as much with that, so I really can't speak to as far as how accessible schools are.
Well, Becca, we really appreciate you guys being here. It's awesome information. What a great service, I think. And just looking at the amount of programming that you have and the variety, it's just kind of exciting to see all the things that you offer. So, we'll probably have to have you back just to keep us updated on how many folks you're reaching. I think it's great that just by providing it online, how many new people you've been able to reach. I mean, literally, you've tripled your tripled your audience. So that's exciting. John, did you have another question?
Could you repeat one more time the phone number and the web address so people can either get involved who need the service or those that might want to donate can help? Absolutely.
Again, it's Radio Talking Book Service. You can call us at 402-572-3003. Our website is rtbs.org. So yes, always volunteer opportunities available as well for anybody that wants to help. Right. Thank you again.
Thanks, Becca, and thanks, Jane, even though Jane wasn't on camera, providing the moral support. We appreciate it. So just a quick update. We will not have a December meeting, so folks that are watching this broadcast, you'll have 2 months to view it. Our next meeting after this will actually be in January. So you'll be able to memorize every second of this meeting. It's fantastic. So we do like to give our members an opportunity to give a little information about their particular organization. First, I'll just give a quick update. So the Human Rights and Relations Department here at the City of Omaha, they are great supporters of our commission, and they're going to have an event on December 10th around International Human Rights Day. Oh, I'm sorry. International Human Rights Day, I apologize, is December 10th, but the actual event will be here at the City of Omaha Douglas County Civic Center, which is located at 1819 Farnham Street, and it'll be in room 502, so up on the 5th floor in the City of Omaha Human Rights and Relations Department. The event runs from 1 to 3, and it's an open house. Refreshments will be served, but at 1:30 there'll be a presentation around what are human rights. So just want to make sure that you all knew that you're invited, and please feel free to attend. I think they just do a really nice job of making sure that they're getting information and awareness out, definitely about human rights. So make sure to mark that on your calendar. We'll probably head to my left and start with Janae with any announcements, and we'll go around the horn.
I have no announcement.
Okay. Mark Smith at the Monroe Meyer Institute. I'll remind you that we provide training, technical assistance services, and perform research in the areas of developmental and intellectual disabilities. We're located on the UNMC campus at 44th between Farnham and Dewey. We have 15 different disciplines that we train on. We have what I consider an excellent faculty and staff, and feel free to contact us. I do have an announcement. Monroe Meyer participates in the Nebraska Consortium for Citizens with Disabilities, which we'll be doing, I can't talk today, which will be doing a training of new senators for the Nebraska legislature on Wednesday. And so we're really hopeful that this will kind of elevate and promote disability issues within the state legislature. So I'll have further updates on that in the future.
Again, my name is Wendy Hamilton, and I represent adults with autism spectrum disorders. And I'd like to make an announcement on behalf of the Autism Society of Nebraska. There are several family and sensory-friendly events scheduled in Omaha for the rest of November as well as December. And those events range in ages from children through teens, young adults, including support groups, sensory-friendly opportunities to see Santa, as well as movies, partnering with AMC theaters. Sensory-friendly movies are thinking about the presentation we heard today, it's a wonderful way to include those in regular opportunities of society that they might not otherwise have the chance to do. And then I also wanted to make sure to remind everybody that tomorrow, although I know this will re-air for a while. Tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. Please think about your favorite charities that support those with disabilities. Many of us, actually I think all of us here on the commission, are affiliated with or somehow represent a nonprofit organization. So please think about those giving opportunities tomorrow during Giving Tuesday. Thanks.
Wendy, just going back to your announcement, how would people find out about the sensory-friendly events?
Thank you. Sorry. Please visit Autism Society, I'm sorry, scratch that from the record, autismnebraska.org. And there's a link that says Omaha events, and it literally goes day by day and lists everything happening in the next month.
Perfect. Thanks, Wendy. I'm Ed Armstrong. I work for QLI, so Brain and Spinal Cord Injury Post-Hospital Rehabilitation Center in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm here representing adults with brain and spinal cord injury. I don't have any announcements for this time.
Well, an announcement that might be a little old, but I'll keep it up. Medina Rehabilitation Hospitals opened its Omaha campus on October 4th. We are ramping up to full capacity. We are a post-acute care hospital where you go when you leave the acute care hospital and you need expanded rehabilitation in a hospital setting. We serve patients with brain trauma, spinal cord injuries, stroke, ventilator management, and a pediatric unit for those patients that have those same conditions. So we opened our specialty hospital October 4th. The pediatric unit is now open, so we're gearing up, ready to serve Omaha residents, the state of Nebraska, and nearby states as well. So we're excited to be here.
I'm sorry, if I could just for a second?
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She reminded me.
That's okay. We'll bring Becca back up. She's got an
Hi,
announcement.
it's Becca again. When she was talking about the screenings, I completely forgot. So this isn't a radio talking book service exclusive service, but Outlook Nebraska received a very generous grant to bring audio description back to Omaha, specifically in live theaters. Radio talking book service, I was one of the ones that was blessed enough to actually get to train to be an audio describer, so I'll be doing quite a few of those events in the upcoming season. But one that RTBS in particular is partnering with Film Streams on December 7th, 4:30 p.m. for an audio described screening of the film Loving. A lot of the large, like she was saying, even audio description is becoming more prevalent in the bigger theaters. Film Streams uses smaller distributors. A lot of theirs don't have that. So we are going to try to audio describe one film a quarter for them. Other than that, go to Outlook Nebraska's website, and I do not know what it is right off the top of my head, but there is a list of all of the audio described live theater performances that are coming up this season. And they have contact information for the box offices. I know right off the top of my head, they're doing Charlie Brown Christmas at Circle Theater. They'll be doing Prancer at the Rose. I'll be describing Sound of Music in January. All of the Broadway ones will be described, so Rent, Beautiful, Something Rotten. The Blue Barn is on board. I don't know if we have any definite dates or shows for them yet, but a lot of them do. The Rose, the Orpheum. Omaha Community Playhouse will start in the spring as well. So keep your ears out, quite literally, for the audio description stuff coming up. But on December 7th, you can join us at Film Streams at 4:30 for Loving. Thank you.
Org.
OutlookNebraska.org, yes. And they have an audio description schedule for the upcoming season.
Yeah, that's a really unique, interesting organization as well, and hopefully we'll have a chance to bring them into our meeting. But Outlook Nebraska, just a fantastic organization that supports persons that are blind or visually impaired, giving them employment opportunities, but then helping to support some of the events and opportunities that you were talking about. So
Yeah.
That's cool that you're involved in them, though.
Yes, yeah,
That's
we've
neat.
partnered for a while, and this was a great opportunity to deepen that partnership and bring another amazing service to Omaha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, thanks so much.
No, thanks, Becca. We appreciate you jumping back in. I'm glad you did that. Sometimes our meetings feel a little formal and stuffy, so we don't want, that's really not, well, not always, but on occasion we get a little formal, so we try not to. Again, my name's Mike Masker. I'm with CHI Health, Immanuel Rehabilitation Institute. We serve persons that have had a brain injury, spinal cord injury, stroke, or other multiple trauma, amputations. We have a full continuum of services we provide for for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language pathology, as well as recreational therapy. Right now, we've got a number of recreational sports and leisure opportunities for people to take advantage of. We'll be starting bowling here pretty soon. Bocce ball runs year-round. Tennis, believe it or not, is still going, but we are going to move it indoors, I think, pretty soon here because it's starting to get a little chilly outside. Wheelchair basketball will be starting up. The Red Dogs are the team that we share with NWA and the PVA. Also have an organization here in Omaha that's a combination of Immanuel Rehabilitation, Paralyzed Veterans of America, and NWA, which is the Eastern Nebraska Wheelchair Athletic Association. They were here just a couple months ago talking about their programming. But if you go to our website, chihealth.com, and look under rehabilitation, under the services, we'll have a full calendar of events. We also have a full opportunity for persons to participate in support groups, which include persons that have had, or family members that have had a stroke, brain injury, spinal cord injury, or amputation. Great groups just to help get additional information, but also support and just help work through some of the challenges that come with a new injury or illness. So those are all listed on our website, and those happen monthly. You can also call for more information if you want to call 572-3678. That's my number. I'd be happy to give you more information on these and other services we provide. So again, just a reminder, we won't have a televised meeting next month, so this meeting will be replayed. Our next meeting will be the fourth Monday in January, which is January 24th, Ed, is that right? That sound something like that? 23rd. Certainly our meetings are open to the public. We invite anyone who'd like to join us. Our pre-meeting starts at 3 p.m. with our televised meeting starting at 3:30 to 4:30. If you have ideas for speakers or information you'd like us to share, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, if you go to either the Mayor's webpage on the City of Omaha's website, or if you just search Disabilities Commission, you'll be able to find us and it'll have our contact information. With that, we're adjourned, and we'll see you all in January. Thank you.